Scary stalker and murder, the mysterious case of Dorothy Scott. You would never understand how dangerous stalking can be until you see how it takes lives away. Yes, this is what happened to Dorothy Scott, a 32-year-old single mother of 4-year-old Sean. Stalking is terrifying for the victim as it encompasses a deadly behavior. It can nowhere be justified as an act out of intense passion or emotion. Instead, it is a carefully planned set of actions that ruin the life of a victim. And sadly, the stalker does not even realize that he is doing anything wrong. For this major reason, most stalkers suffer from narcissistic or borderline personality disorders. While most of us understand how harmful stalking can be today, things were different back in time. And probably for this reason, Dorothy never thought her stalker would take her life away. So what happened with Dorothy and how did she go missing? Welcome to AF Crime, the channel that brings you fascinating crimes all around the world. If you're interested in this kind of content, then this channel is for you. Make sure to like this video, click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to keep you updated on our recent uploads. Now, let's get right into the video and investigate what really happened to Dorothy Scott. Dorothy Scott, a 32-year-old lady who worked at the Swingers Psych Shop and Custom John's Head Shop as a secretary. Her workplace was located at a distance of only 5 miles from her home, situated in Stanton. Since her husband was not around, she would leave her child Sean with her parents while she was at work. Dorothy, however, was very close to her family and was known to lead a simple life revolving around work, home, and church. There was no alcohol or drugs around her, yet who would know that such a simple life would have a violent, sad end? It was the night of the 28th of May, 1980, when Dorothy was at work, when she noticed a co-worker, Conrad Bostron, unwell. Dorothy, along with another colleague, Pam Head, took Bostron to UC Irvine Medical Center. According to the doctor, Conrad had undergone a black spider bite. While he was being treated, Dorothy and her colleague waited at the medical center. Bostron was released after 2 hours. Looking at his fragile condition, Scott offered to bring the car. The two colleagues waited at the exit, and when they were unable to find Scott, they went to check the parking lot. Soon, they saw Scott's car swiftly pass them, and due to the high-beam headlights, they were unable to see the person behind the steering wheel. The car drove past them while they were left alone waving at the car, considering it was Scott. Initially, Scott's colleagues believed that she might have had an emergency with her son that made her leave so abruptly. Later, when there was no contact, they had to file a missing report for Dorothy Scott. It was, however, on the 29th of May at around 4:30 a.m. that Scott's car was found burnt at a distance of approximately 10 miles from the medical center. Additionally, there were no traces of Scott or her assumed kidnapper. A few months before Scott went missing, she had been receiving calls from an unknown caller. As per her mother, the caller would express his love and would warn her to hurt and kill her. He would stalk her in all ways possible, but Scott could never imagine that this would end up this way. Her mother reported that once the caller had called Scott outside to surprise her with a gift. The gift was a dead rose lying on her car. Among other such calls from the stalker was the one that threatened to cut her into bits and pieces. And it was after this call that Scott not only started carrying a handgun, but also started taking karate lessons. Interestingly, Scott told her parents that the voice of the stalker sounded familiar, but she could not recall who it was. Her parents, however, told the police that she had no steady boyfriend and a major chunk of her life was work and her child. Her co-workers, however, said Dorothy was a pleasure to work with. Her life was as dull as a phone book, and she wasn't particularly involved in any activity or habit that would pose danger. But little did anyone know that the night of the 28th of May would be the deadliest for Dorothy and her loved ones. These unknown random calls continued even after Dorothy went missing. In one of the calls that her parents received, the caller said, "I have her." Such calls were so short that they could not be tracked down. The mysterious caller would call Dorothy's family, perplexed about commenting on what she was wearing and giving out minor details, making them believe she was kidnapped. The person behind these suspiciously threatened calls remains a mystery. Interestingly, this frequently happened when Scott's mom was alone at home. Once her father started receiving calls, the harasser stopped. The enigmatic point to ponder here is the underlying fact that if Dorothy's father had attended the calls from the stranger, would he be able to recognize the voice? After all, who was he? This shows a serious connection between the stalker, who used to call and send weird surprises to Dorothy, and the calls received after she went missing. Yet the mystery remains unsolved. In cases when people go missing, the police and investigation department closely assess people related to and around the victim. Sometimes it is pretty obvious, and other times even the obvious is deceiving. In the case of Dorothy Scott, however, one person that appeared suspicious was Mike the Butler. He was the owner of John's, Dorothy's father, head shop, and this was the place where Dorothy worked. The butler was said to be obsessed with Dorothy, but there was no solid evidence found against him. This takes us back to the phone calls that stopped once Dorothy's father started picking up the phone. If it was the butler, there is a possibility that her father would have recognized his voice. Or was there any other hidden motive behind this man and his phone calls? Was there a family enmity that took away Dorothy's life? Too many questions and too many possible answers have left us wondering what happened to Dorothy. Dorothy continues to live in the hearts of her family and friends, where her seemingly physical presence was marked at the Forest Lawn Memorial Parks. With flowers and ribbons, there was written "Beloved Sister" along the Dorothy's smiling face in the frame. While addressing several people in the church, Dorothy's brother Jim said Dorothy lives, maybe not in this body, but she lives. It was after 4 years that a construction worker came across human remains on the 6th of August 1984. This was found in Santa Ana on Canyon Road. Only the pelvis, thigh bones, and the human skull was found. The remains also consisted of a turquoise ring and a watch that had stopped exactly at 12:30 a.m. on the 29th of May, 1980. Sadly, Dorothy's parents passed away without finding Dorothy's murderer. In contrast, her son continues to look for the person ruining his life. He would always live by this question: did my mom deserve to die? Nobody knows what happened to Dorothy that night. Was she tortured or brutally murdered? When was she killed? Who was the person behind this? And why would someone do anything to a person as simple as Dorothy? Time is the true healer, but some things never heal. Several murder mysteries go unsolved, and the case of Dorothy Scott is one such example. While some speculate a murderer is a random person, many believe that it was the same stalker that Dorothy somehow knew. Whatever the truth is, let us hope it is uncovered one day so that there is an end to such ruthless murders. What do you think of this case? Is there any new information that we missed out? Share them in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, do subscribe to our AF Crime channel and click on the bell icon to be notified when we post new crime cases.